Do you know what we call people like you? A parasite. Why don't you just leave?
Even though I'm working hard too. My name is Megan. I'm a stay at home translator. I work from home, translating books or movie scripts that are sent to me into English. It's not flashy, but it's fulfilling. I've been married to my husband, John, for 4 years, and every day has been so happy. My in laws, George and Susan, are kind people, and I truly believe I made the right choice in getting married. Except for one thing, it happened about 2 years after we got married. We've settled into married life, and living together just felt natural. We want George and Susan to be able to see their grandchild soon, right? We were talking about starting a new family, but for a whole year, I couldn't get pregnant. I researched everything that might help increase my chances and tried it all. Thinking treatment might be an option, I decided to consult a doctor for advice, and I was diagnosed with infertility. Even after detailed tests, they couldn't find the cause. The doctor encouraged me, saying, "It's not impossible, so let's keep trying patiently." But I knew that as I got older, the chances of getting pregnant would decrease. Still, I couldn't help but feel anxious about how long it might take. And there was the guilt of not being able to give my in laws a grandchild. I finally gathered the courage to talk to them about it.
Don't worry about it. It must have been hard for you to bring this up, so thank you for sharing.
They spoke to me with such kindness. There's an old saying that a wife is only complete after having a child, but I felt so relieved by my in law's generosity. Yet, deep down, I still carried a sense of guilt towards them and John. I wanted to do something for them, so John and I made a decision together. How do you like it, George, Susan?
Are you sure about this? This is a high-end condo in a prime location, isn't it?
What we decided was to have them live in a condo that we would pay for. It was a place with special features for accessibility right in the heart of the city. We'd cover all the rent and living expenses. I suggested that living together might allow us to help them with daily needs and keep them company, even if just a little. Since my translation work is mostly remote and virtual meetings have become the norm, it seemed feasible. My in laws lived in a house that had been around for many years. I remembered them mentioning that it had a lot of steps, steep stairs, and other hazards. We considered renovating, but the house was a bit far from station and a car was necessary, so we thought a condo closer to the station might be better. Don't worry about the money. Both John and I are working, and since we're both pretty frugal, we've saved up. We talked it over and decided that since I couldn't give you the grandchild you deserve, we wanted to do something else for you instead.
Yeah, that's right. Megan's absolutely right. Don't worry about the money. I was a little surprised when she brought this up, but I really want to do something for you both too. Please accept this as a gesture of our appreciation.
I see. We've got ourselves a great son and daughter-in-law, haven't we, honey?
Yes, thank you, both of you.
Seeing how happy they were with our gesture made me so glad. The guilt of not being able to give them a grandchild lightened a bit, and I started to imagine a future filled with happy days, brimming with hope. But I had no idea that a much heavier challenge was waiting for me.
This is such a wonderful place. I'll feel secure here even when I'm much older.
I was so relieved they liked it. I looked at my mother-in-law, feeling a sense of relief. Today, we had invited them to see the place before the move. They both seemed very excited.
Megan, I'm so happy. Thanks to you, my parents look so thrilled. I'm really grateful.
That's my line. Thank you for agreeing to my bold suggestion. Even though we had some savings, deciding to buy a condo was a big decision. It's only thanks to your support that we made it here. Thank you. They liked the place, John was happy, and I knew we were in for some great times ahead. I could hardly wait for the moving day, looking forward to it with excitement. And then, the moving day arrived. We finished moving all my in-laws' things, took a break, and were chatting together. That's when the doorbell rang. Who could it be? Maybe it's the movers? Did they forget something? Feeling curious, I went to the intercom. Hello.
Wow, this place is huge. The rooms look so spacious. Oh, Megan, it's been a while. It's Claire.
It's been a while. Please come on in. The person on the other end was my sister-in-law, Claire. I'm not very comfortable around her. I first met Claire about 2 weeks after I got married. She couldn't attend the initial family meeting because of work, so we arranged a separate meeting later. Sorry for the late introduction. I'm Megan. Nice to meet you.
Megan, is it? Nice to meet you too. By the way, what kind of work do you do, Megan?
I work as a translator. I studied Spanish at a vocational school, so I found a job where I could use my Spanish skills.
Oh, so you went to a vocational school.
Yes, I didn't have much skill outside of Spanish.
I don't really understand vocational schools. I don't think you can learn much in just 2 years, and studying just one thing doesn't seem very practical.
I see.
Oh, I'm sorry if I offended you. I went to a traditional university, you see.
I couldn't help but feel like she was looking down on me for attending a vocational school. Sensing my discomfort, John said to me,
Sorry, my sister is really smart, unlike me, and she went to a well-known university in the city. She works at a big corporation now, so she's got a bit of a pride thing going on. I find it a little hard to deal with too, so don't worry too much about her attitude.
My first impression of her wasn't great, and since we didn't interact much afterward, I wasn't comfortable around her. But time had passed, and I hoped things might be different now, though a small part of me still felt uneasy. Then Claire said something surprising.
Thanks for having me. This place is beautiful.
Come in. Oh, what's with all the luggage? Did you just get back from a trip?
Long time no see. Claire, you look different somehow. So what brings you here today?
Didn't I mention it? I'm moving in here.
What? Everyone except Claire had the exact same reaction.
I've been living at home all this time, so when the old house got torn down, I didn't have anywhere to go.
Claire, you mentioned you were looking for an apartment. You were so determined, saying, if the house goes, I'll live on my own.
That's right. You can't just show up and stay without notice. It would be an inconvenience for Megan, too.
There are plenty of rooms, and I don't mind at all.
Yay, thank you, Megan.
I couldn't turn her down in front of my in-laws, so I reluctantly agreed. I felt a bit uneasy, but I also held onto a small hope that through this, she might come to appreciate me a little more. But soon, I felt betrayed. I was bracing myself for the unexpected event of Claire moving in, but at first, nothing seemed off. She wasn't bullying me or anything, and life carried on as usual. Claire was often out late, likely due to her work, so we didn't see each other much. But then, one day, as usual, I finished my translation work, prepared dinner for Claire, who hadn't come back yet, and went to bed. I was sound asleep when Claire suddenly woke me up.
Hey, wake up.
Huh? Claire, dragging my confused self into the living room. I tried to understand the situation with my half-asleep brain, but I had no idea what was going on. And what she showed me in the living room was the omelet I had made.
Why is this omelet sweet? In our family, omelets are supposed to be savory.
I could smell alcohol on Claire as she yelled at me. I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
This is why people without proper education are like this. You can even remember something as simple as that.
I'm sorry. Claire's tone was harsh, perhaps because she was drunk. Why is she so angry about an omelet? Feeling uneasy, I went back to bed. She was just drunk, right? Everything will be back to normal tomorrow. I prayed in my heart. The next morning, I was helping my mother-in-law with breakfast as usual. Yesterday, I accidentally made a sweet omelet for Claire. It's how I used to make it back home. I feel bad about it.
Oh, is that so? But sweet omelets are delicious too. Don't let it get to you too much.
My mother-in-law kindly comforted me. As long as I don't mess up next time, everything should be fine, right? We had breakfast together as usual. Claire didn't mention anything about last night and acted like nothing had happened. I felt too awkward to bring it up in front of everyone, so I thought maybe she had let it go. But then, Claire suddenly grabbed a bottle of ketchup and started pouring it all over the food.
Hey, that's not good for you.
She ignored my mother-in-law's gentle reprimand.
This is the trend now.
She had never done this before. Is this because of the omelet incident yesterday?
I've always thought your cooking was a bit bland, Megan. This is just the right amount for me.
Claire, Megan keeps the seasoning light because she's thinking of us, you know, so please don't be too harsh on her.
Thanks to my mother-in-law stepping in, things settled down for the moment. But I couldn't help but wonder what would happen next. My anxiety kept growing. Susan told me not to worry about it, but what should I do? Little did I know that even more challenges were heading my way. My in-laws planned a trip with their friends. To make things worse, John had a business trip at the same time. Since I had discussed some concerns about Claire with him, he said kindly, "Let me know if anything happens, okay? But it's only 4 days, so I should be fine. And Claire is probably busy with work, so she won't have time to bother me, right?" I tried to stay positive. But then, good morning.
Morning. Oh, by the way, I took some paid leave, so I'll be home for the next 3 days.
Oh, okay, understood. What? I couldn't believe it. Of all times, she decided to take time off now. I was shocked by this unexpected turn of events. My positive mindset crumbled all at once.
Okay, let's get started.
What do you mean?
Isn't it obvious? We're cleaning. Since you didn't go to college, you're probably slow at it, and I bet there are parts you haven't cleaned properly. I'll show you how it's done.
I swallowed back the words, "Education has nothing to do with housework," and replied, "Understood. Thank you for your guidance." But this was just the beginning.
Why can't you do it right? You're so slow because you're lazy all the time. Maybe that's why you can't have a baby. Make sure to remember things the first time you're told. This is why people like you.
She found every opportunity to criticize me. I stayed quiet, knowing that talking back would only make things worse. I'd like to get back to my translation work soon. I have something I need to finish by today.
Do that little job later. It's probably just like a student's side gig, right? Some pocket money. Saving it up for your secret stash while John takes care of you. Do you know what people like you are called? Parasite. Oh, I guess that's too hard for you. It means a leech. Got it? A leech. At least do the housework, or just leave. A wife who can have kids isn't worth much anyway.
Claire said whatever she wanted when John and my in-laws weren't around. I had reached my limit, and I made a decision. Claire kept calling me a parasite and mocking my struggles with infertility at every turn. Why is she saying such hurtful things? Unable to bear it alone, I reached out to John.
I can't believe she's doing that while I'm away. Maybe you should just move out altogether.
Really? But if I did so?
Hey, I have an idea.
With John's advice, I decided to move out. All right, I'll be leaving. I won't be paying the rent anymore.
Just get out already. As a high school graduate, you can't afford the rent anyway, so it's no skin off my back.
So you agree, right? Then please proceed with the name change on the lease. I bit back the urge to correct her and say I wasn't just a high school grad as I left the house. I had a place to go, and since my work just requires a computer, it wasn't a problem. Even though I wanted things to end peacefully, the situation had me on edge. I headed straight to my family home. My parents were living in Mexico for work, so it was just me there. I asked John to come over after his business trip, and we started living together, just the two of us. My in-laws were puzzled, but I told them we just needed some time alone, thinking it would be too much of a shock to explain the real reason. After about a month, when the lease transfer was finalized, I received a call from Claire.
Hello, what's going on here?
What do you mean?
Don't play dumb. It's about the rent. Why is it so high?
Well, it's a condo in a prime location, so naturally, the rent isn't cheap.
How could someone like you, with your lack of education, afford such a place? This has to be some kind of scam.
Sure, academically, I may not match up to you, Claire, but I grew up overseas and I developed some language skills because of that. It's a bit embarrassing to say, but that's how I got into translation work, and I've been doing pretty well. Thanks to that, I earn enough to afford that condo. Education isn't everything.
You shut up. I graduated from a top university and work for a prestigious company. Obviously, I'm more important.
Well, with such an impressive background, paying rent shouldn't be a problem for you, right? So there's no need to complain to me about it.
I'm a bit low on savings right now.
We're not getting anywhere over the phone. I'll come over and we'll discuss this. A family meeting was held with my in-laws, Claire, John, and me. I explained everything that had happened between Claire and me, why I had decided to leave, and the issue with the rent.
What do you mean you are a bit low on savings? You were living at your parents' with no rent or living expenses, so you should have savings, right?
My father-in-law pressed her.
I spent the money on cosmetic surgery, so I don't have any savings. I just had another procedure recently.
You've been spending money on things like that.
My mother-in-law exclaimed.
So that's why your appearance changed.
I'm sorry.
If you keep living with us, you'll never learn. You need to move out and start living on your own.
What? No, please, let me stay. I'll do anything.
The problem is, you look down on Megan because of something as silly as education. Just because you're smart doesn't mean you can get away with everything. Even a kid would understand that.
I understand. I'm sorry.
And so, Claire ended up moving out of the condo. I never thought Claire had been spending all that money on cosmetic surgery. Thinking about how, if things had continued like that, she might have fallen even deeper into debt, I felt like maybe this outcome was for her own good. I was feeling relieved. Until that moment, about 2 months after Claire moved out. She rang the doorbell, crying. I let her in, wondering what had happened, and I was shocked to see someone who looked completely different.
What happened to your face?
From the cosmetic surgery.
I told you to stop. You're hurting your precious body.
Her parents were furious. Claire's obsession with surgery hadn't stopped even after she moved out. After this incident, Her parents took over managing her bank account and began monitoring her spending. She used to have such a beautiful face, and since you can't hide your face, people at her company found out about her surgeries, making her feel ashamed and isolated. The once confident Claire had become a completely different person, quiet and humble. Meanwhile, while I was living outside the condo with John, I found out that I was expecting, and now our child is growing healthily. Now, I want to show my in-laws their grandchild and make them proud. That's my goal now. So please, George, Susan, just wait a little longer.